modern radio, almost rejoice.
To break the stranglehold of government broadcasting in New Zealand, 1XA Radio Hauraki set sail as a pirate radio station in late 1966. It delivered 24-hour music programming based on models of Australian commercial radio. Hauraki signalled the newfound independence of youth culture. It also signalled a move from a public service mentality to what eventually became a neoliberal ethos. Radio Hauraki was eventually sold off to American interests and became a formatted media outlet. It lost its independence. Over time, Radio New Zealand, the government broadcaster, became more adept and pluralistic in its outlook and able to articulate a new sense of national identity. But back to our main story. By the end of the 1960s, the ideals of American romanticism and individualism, epitomized by Henry David Thoreau, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and Walt Whitman, had been diluted into populist forms of psychedelic and alternative lifestyle.
Come and see the real thing, come and see the real thing, come and see. Come and see the real thing, come and see the real thing, come and see. There's a meaning there, but the meaning there doesn't really mean a thing. Come and see the real thing, come and see the real thing, come and see. I am the real thing.
Ralph, the time has come. The time has come to go out of your mind. Are you ready, Ralph? Are you ready to die and be reborn? No. No, first, you must be in a state of grace. First, you must examine yourself in this mirror of confession. What do you see there? Your personality, all your goals and your fears, your little ambitions, the chess game of your life. You have to check that, Ralph. You can't take that on a trip with you. And then that other side of you, Ralph, that dark, unconscious, all those animal impulses which you hide and keep down below. All this baggage, too, must be checked. You can't take that on the billion-year voyage to God. Are you ready? Then take this chalice, the elixir of life, the ancient cup, the Holy Grail, the alchemist's stone of philosophy, the Holy Communion, the key to immortality. Take this and drink. Now, energy comes. The flow of energy. Here it is. Nameless, timeless, speed of light. Float beyond fear. Float beyond desire. Into this mystery of mysteries. Through this gate of all wonder. Open sound. Light, radiant, pulsing. Vibration. Light waves. Eternal note. Trembling web of light. Sound waves. Merge with the scene. Spin slowly round eternal note. Glittering energy. Whirlpool of light. Drift within on thread of sound. Focus on center. Down vibration thread. You are light. You are sound. Drift within. This is your body. Can you flow with fire blood through each tissued corridor? Throb to the pulse of life.
Can you throb to the pulse of life?
Let your heart pump you down long red tunnels.
Can you let your heart pump you down long red tunnels?
Stream into cell chambers.
Can you let your heart become central pump house for all human feeling?
Drift to the center. Drift to center. Center on this hard fire of love. Let your heart beat for all life.
Radiate, swell, penetrate to the bumping rhythm.
Would a class analysis of the society still have any meaning?
I can't help it, but I do believe that we still have a class society. A class society is not characterized by the increasing higher standard of living of the ruled classes, but is characterized today most outspokenly characterized by the fact that we have one group or class which, by virtue of its position in the social and economic process, decides and determines the fate of the entire population, and that the majority of the population, again, by virtue of their position in the social and economic process, is really not in any way self-determinating.
Here you set up as your criteria of social change a group which is, I would say from this, almost totally excluded from benefits of the society. And you make this clear, as you said earlier, in terms of labor movement, and you also make it clear when you speak of the people in general and their ability to change the situation. But then you close your book, and this is only the last half page out of 257, it's true, when you say, however, underneath the conservative popular base is the substratum of the outcasts and outsiders, the exploited and persecuted of other races and colors, the unemployed and unemployable. They exist outside the democratic process. Now, is the fact that you spend only a half page in this in any sense characteristic of your evaluation of the possibility of this tendency?
Only partly characteristic. The other part is that, as I say, only the beginnings, it may mark the beginnings, these groups still are too powerless to accomplish the change by themselves. But I would like to add here that if I speak of the ingression of a new freedom motivated by the awareness of intolerable conditions, that does not necessarily and exclusively mean abject poverty and misery. I, for example, can very well envisage conditions under which social groups which are not poor, which are not which do not live in misery, become aware of the insanity of a society in which they have to continue, alienated labor, continue performances which they actually hate, continue the struggle for existence which has become more and more a rat race in the face of the possible abolition of all these. And that this awareness may well spread and become one of those potentially changing forces.
This is Radio Peking. 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 Brothers and friends, we begin our program with a quotation from Chairman Mao Zedong. Chairman Mao Zedong has said, of all things in the world, just quoted from the commentary, The Bankruptcy of the Idealist Conception of History, written by Chairman Mao Zedong in 1949. We now repeat the quotation.
Of all things in the world, people are the most precious. Under the leadership of the Communist Party, as long as there are people, every kind of miracle can be performed. You are listening to Radio Peking. In this transmission beamed to Australia and New Zealand, we'll first bring you the news, followed by a Peking People's Daily editorial entitled Combating Selfishness and Criticizing and Repudiating Revisionism is the Fundamental Principle of the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution. Then you'll hear our Saturday program, Quotations from Chairman Mao Zedong. And finally, a music program, Battle Song of Armed Struggles of the Asian, African, and Latin American Peoples. Here are the headlines in today's news. As the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution enters the stage of decisive victory, China has completed a giant transistor computer of the latest type, suitable for all purposes. In Taiyuan, capital of Shanxi province, proletarian revolutionaries held an impressive rally on Thursday to extend a warm welcome to Comrade Ramiz Alia and other members of the Albanian party and government delegation. The diplomatic personnel of the Chinese embassy in Indonesia are surmounting every difficulty and keeping up a militant struggle. The South Vietnam Liberation Armed Forces in Nam Boa have wiped out large numbers of enemy effectives. Now here is the news. As the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution enters the stage of decisive victory, Chinese workers on the scientific and technological front have recently completed a giant transistor computer of the latest type, suitable for all purposes. This follows their success in turning out several types of giant all-purpose electronic computing machines in the last few years. The production of transistor computers requires a knowledge of up-to-date technology, combining the latest achievements in electronics, semiconductors, precision instruments, and the computing science. By virtue of its split-second speed and accuracy, wide range of applicability and stability, the new computer is of vital importance in the fields of atomic energy, rockets, and spaceflight, as well as in various spheres of the national economy. The Educational Service of the Vietnam Democratic Republic has overcome all obstacles created by the U.S. imperialists and is developing with each passing day. The number of primary and secondary school pupils in the 1967-1968 school year has increased by 10% over last year. This is the most eloquent answer of the entire Vietnamese people to the sinister designs and criminal acts of the U.S. imperialists. The army and people in North Vietnam shot down 6 intruding U.S. gangster planes on Thursday. 3 of these were downed over Haiphong and the rest over Ha Bac, Yên Binh, and Hai Duong provinces. In Laos, the Patriotic Army and people won new victories in their recent attacks on the enemy, wiping out a large number of enemy troops. On September 17th and 18th, the repeatedly attacked 2 enemy battalions in the southwestern part of the Nam Bac area of Phabang province, putting out of action 120 enemy soldiers and decimating one of the battalions. It was reported that the guerrillas and regional forces in the province killed or wounded 40 enemy troops on September 18th and 19th. And in Chien Vong province, the Patriotic Army and people killed 26 enemy troops and wounded many others on September 17th. The Palestinian Arab commanders are continuing to carry out guerrilla warfare in occupied Palestine. You've just heard a music program, Battle Song of Armed Struggle of the Asian, African, and Latin American Peoples.
You'll be listening to Radio Peking. This transmission, beams to Australia and New Zealand, can be heard every day at 18:30 hours Australian Standard Time or 20:30 hours New Zealand Standard Time, at 17.835 megacycles, 15.06 megacycles, 15.435 megacycles, and 11.6 and 11.72 megacycles on the 16, 19, and 25 meter band. Our next transmission beamed to this area will begin a few minutes from now on the same frequencies and wavelengths.
It's all gone now.